So I mentioned that I did this debate with Chris Cluse, hosted by the Analytic Christian YouTube channel. That debate is now online, and this is the thumbnail that Jordan used for it. It's interesting. I think we look a little too cheerful here to be discussing holy war and genocide, but be that as it may. I've linked the debate below. I commend you to go watch it, and you can see there, Chris and I flesh out some of our differences. I'm probably not going to say more about my disagreements with Chris and his critical response to my views for the foreseeable future. I think I've said a fair amount on this, and you can kind of sense where the differences lie. But in this video, apart from making you aware of the debate and directing you to it, I also wanted to just offer a quick reply to a couple of the comments that were posted um, on the YouTube channel this morning since it's been up. So, first of all, this gentleman says when comparing worldviews, any ethical system wins over a view which entails that sometimes genocide and slaughtering children is okay. I'm with Randall on this. I'm glad Christians don't have to affirm and support genocide. This is a hard issue in my faith walk, and I'm grateful for people who propose ways of reading the Bible that don't justify the killing of innocent children. Absolutely 100%. And this is my heartbeat that so many Christians have a completely unnecessary crisis of faith because they can't reconcile themselves to accept something that they know is evil as good, such as that it can sometimes be morally permissible to engage in genocide and kill children. So you need to recognize that those claims are not essential Christian dogmas, nor are they entailments of any Christian dogmas. That is there are enough stumbling blocks in the Christian life. This should not be one of them. So I agree with this. Now it was interesting. So one fellow responds to Jacob here, and he says this: you don't get out of that easily." Luke 4:5 says Jesus is the God of the old T who led the Israelites out of Egypt. And then he goes on and he says, that means Jesus judged Egypt and sent the angel of death to execute the Egyptian firstborns. This means that Jesus ordered the execution of the Israelites who worshiped the golden calf. If Jesus can do all that, well, I think he will spare the Canaanites. This is just so interesting. I see this time and again that there will be professing Christians who cite a single Bible verse or two and then extrapolate all sorts of things. This means from that their interpretation of that single verse, and conclude based upon that that killing children and infants and engaging in genocide can be morally obligatory or permissible. And to draw those kinds of extraordinary, shocking ethical conclusions based upon your pet interpretation of one or a handful of verses is, to my mind, a completely out of whack mode of rational analysis. Okay, now I want to turn to one more comment. So this person said this: does anyone imagine that these texts caused any strife whatsoever for the apostles? Who really thinks that they had any worries about it whatsoever? Whatever the apostles think, so do I. This is, first of all, somewhat odd because we don't have a window into what the apostles believed about genocide and the ethics of killing children. We don't have any direct evidence about that. So this individual, Alistair, is simply engaging in unmoored conjecture. So that's the first response I have here. The second response, however, is the individual says, whatever the apostles think, so do I. The idea being that whatever the first century apostles believed about a given theological topic, that is obligatory for a Christian. But of course, that's not true. That doesn't follow at all. What you ought to believe is what the New Testament teaches, not simply what apostles happen to believe about a particular subject matter. Even to go further than that, the Christian church teaches, for example, the mainstream Orthodox Christian church teaches the Chalcedonian definition of the incarnation. Are you saying the apostles believed the Chalcedonian definition of the incarnation? Are you saying the apostles believed the Nicene Constantinopolitan account of the triune God? Those would be absurd claims if you do believe that. But surely we should, as Orthodox Christians, nonetheless assent to the Chalcedonian definition or the Niceno-Constantinopolitan definition of the triune God, even if the apostles did not believe those things. So this is just a bad criterion all around. So to conclude, I direct you again to the debate I've linked below. As well, if you haven't read Jesus Loves Canaanites, I'll include a link to that below. Check it out. I think it is a tragedy when Christians experience crisis of faith because they cannot accept the morality of genocide. The very fact that there are people who are placed in such a dilemma, being forced to accept the morality of child killing, infant killing, civilian killing. I'll say this. I think there are three categories of people who do, as professing Christians, accept the morality of child killing, infant killing, genocide, etc. Those three groups of people are, first of all, people with severe cognitive dissonance. Second, people who have never seriously, really actually reflected on what it is they're affirming. And third, people who are not functioning properly in terms of their moral perceptual faculties. For example, they have some personality disorder like clinical psychopathy and do not have moral aversions generally to such heinous actions as killing infants and children. Those are the only three categories of people I think that can accept such a heinous position as that. And I suspect most, certainly the academics that I meet, are in the cognitive dissonance area. So those are my thoughts. Again, check out the debate.